What's up, influencers? That's right. Not just YouTube, but the FTC will be cracking down on creators, on channels here on this platform, because this is serious stuff. The FTC bomb on regulating not just kids' content, but regulating what the kids are actually seeing. Now, it's not as obvious as you think. There's going to be so many more creators, so many more pieces of content and channels that will be affected by these guidelines, and there's some serious fines, up to $40,000 plus. So in this interview, we'll be talking about Jeremy Johnston, who was recently featured on Phil DeFranco. That's right, the Phil DeFranco, talking about this, talking about the legal implications and some of the things that we need to watch out for. So we're going to be diving into those guidelines. We'll be talking about what the FTC is, Coppa, and we'll be talking about some solutions, some ways to prepare for all this, and how to avoid these fines in this interview on the way, coming right now. That's right, that's right, that's right. Welcome to Video Influencers, where we're helping build your influence, income, and impact with online videos. We're helping you crush it here on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on social media at Video Influencers. You know, Sean and I, we have a huge passion for YouTube and this community, and it's really important that we get you the right information very quickly. So that's why we're doing this special live interview at 12 noon, not at 10 a.m. We actually postponed this to make it available for our next guest, which is Jeremy Johnston. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a family vlogger. He's got this amazing channel with his family, talks about his experience as a parent, really fun videos. I'm telling you, he is an epic creator. Almost 2 million plus subscribers, almost 2 billion views. That's right, B with a billion. Just to give you an idea of how significant that is, I've been on YouTube for 10 years and we're barely hitting a billion. He's gotten almost 2 billion views. So he knows what he's talking about. But more important than that, when it comes to the FTC and some of these regulations that are being put on this community, how it's going to affect us, he's been a huge advocate for us as YouTubers. He's actually gone to Washington, D.C. a couple times because he has a background in being an attorney. So he's got a lot of experience on the legal side of this. And that's one of the things I really value about him. And in fact, let's actually play this clip from a show on Phil DeFranco's channel where he talks about all the latest news. And he actually featured Jeremy on his channel. Let's play that right now.
Also, notably, that Change.org petition was started by Jeremy Johnston of the family vlog channel J House Vlogs. Also, in addition to having a channel that would most likely be affected here, he is also a lawyer who actually ended up traveling to DC to talk directly to the FTC. And in videos, Johnson has argued that he thinks the FTC is legitimately trying to do what is best for children. But notably here, he also said that the FTC was largely unaware of these creators' concerns beforehand. And in fact, this morning we spoke to Johnston about his meeting with FTC commissioners, and he really emphasized how this is going to affect the little guy. Because yes, big creators will be able to find other ways to generate money, right, with things such as brand deals. And on that, he said,
that isn't going to be available for the small creators in the future. And that's a big reason why I'm speaking out. I wouldn't be doing all of this if it was just about my channel, but I'm considering other people like me or other people 5 years, 10 years from now who want to get going. And I'm so grateful that when I took that leap of faith to say, I'm going to do YouTube full time, that ad revenue made that possible.
That's right. That was Jeremy Johnston, a good friend of mine that was on the Phil DeFranco show, and he's been a huge advocate. So without further ado, Jeremy, what's going on, man?
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to talk more about this topic.
Oh, for sure. I mean, obviously, I'm very passionate about YouTube and very passionate about the monetization that helps us, you know, create the lifestyle that we have as content creators. But, you know, it's not just the big channels that are going to be affected. There's going to be a lot more other channels in the future as well as right now. So let's just dive into it, Jeremy. Give us a little bit about what it is that is going on and why it's significant to the community, maybe more significant than people realize.
Yeah, it can be confusing for us because it is really complex and there's multiple things happening all at the same time. So for example, we know on September 4th, there was the settlement that was announced between FTC and YouTube, but there's a totally separate thing going on that to me is even more important and more significant for the creators. And that is the FTC's review of their enforcement of Coppa. Every 10 years or so, the FTC says, let's reconsider what we've done. And should we be expanding our enforcement or should we be pulling it back? And they reach out to the public and say, what do you guys think? What should we be doing? How is it going? And that's the main reason. That's one of the big reasons I'm trying to let creators know about this, is that the FTC is asking for feedback. And one of the main things they're considering doing is expanding Coppa so that it's going to cover a lot more channels. And so I want to get this word out so we can give feedback before that happens.
Absolutely. And, one of the biggest takeaways from this is that monetization could be dramatically affected. I don't know what the details are because there's so many variables that could affect it. But some of the latest reports are saying people's monetization could be dropping from 60 to 90%. To give you guys an example, if like for some reason you're making $10,000 a year from your YouTube channel, right? And this Coppa regulation or guideline and what the FTC is doing to regulate content affects you directly, that means you'll be going from $10,000 a year to literally potentially $1,000 a year, a 90% drop. Now, of course, this is going to be different for different channels for many different reasons. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's obviously one of the biggest points that people are worried about.
Yeah, and a lot of creators, I think, may have a false sense of security here. And definitely when I went and met with the FTC, they also didn't understand how big this could hit creators. And even more than the drop in ad revenue, because that's a big deal, right? The change from personalized ads to contextualized ads, that's going to be a big deal. But for me, I'm also concerned about suggestions. And a lot of people haven't been talking about that. But I've in the past, during the Elsa Gate or Adpocalypse that happened earlier, I had certain videos, some of my biggest videos, where the suggestions got turned off, and that's devastating. And I think that those are the kinds of things that could come as well for these creators. You get notifications turned off, you get your comments turned off, and if suggestions go as well, then even if you were making similar amount of money off of contextualized ads, your views may plummet to, way below maybe 80-90% drop of what you were getting before. So there's some big changes that could be coming, and I don't think people are giving enough weight and appreciation for that.
Yeah, and well, thank you for that clarification. And yeah, I think that's the main reason why I wanted to have you on, Jeremy, because like you mentioned, it's not just the fact that people are discounting what could be happening. There's other channels that could also be affected by this. And Jeremy, hopefully you don't mind, but there's this great clip from your channel where Kendra, your amazing wife, actually talks about this. Do you mind if I actually play that right now?
Oh, please do.
All right, so let's go ahead and play that clip by Kendra where she explains how this is not just going to affect, content creators who have kid audiences or kid channels, but the community more broadly.
Here's the problem. If you take away a creator's ability to monetize their content, you take away their ability to make great content. What's more is the FTC is considering expanding this regulation to include all videos that kids ages 12 and under like to watch. This includes lots of things, like videos about sports, trick shots, science, education, cooking and baking, video games, fashion and beauty, comedy, pranks, families, music, vlogs, and a lot more. That's a lot of content, and that's a lot of creators whose businesses are going to be drastically altered, maybe even shut down.
Yeah, there you go. So one of the things that people don't understand, and Kendra just mentioned, is it's not just the kid channels, right? It's not just the channels that kids like to watch, because the reality, and Jeremy, this is where I just want to have a conversation about this, because again, like I'm very curious about it and I see it in real time. My kids, just like so many other kids, they don't just watch kid shows or kid channels. They're watching everything. So challenge videos, cooking videos. I have a cooking channel. So my channel could be affected by this. And I think kids, I mean, like they grow up in such different ways. They're consuming content that they're interested in. It doesn't actually matter if it's for kids or not. And that's kind of the beauty of YouTube. What are your thoughts on this? Because I think this alone is a big deal, on how what the FTC is doing is not just affecting the obvious channels here.
I think this analogy can help explain what I'm frustrated about and what I'm trying to tell the FTC. Just stop for a second and consider how many 12-year-olds went and saw the newest Marvel movie. That's a PG-13 movie, but a kid is allowed to go and watch when they're 12 if they go with their parents. what's frustrating here with YouTube is that they're disregarding the parent's choice. They're
Mm-hmm.
saying, look, any content that is going to be attractive to children, we're just going to take down the ads. I mean, imagine if they went to all of the PG-13 movies and said, look, we're going to have to cut, you can't sell any tickets to any children 12 and under. It's just not the right mechanism to be regulating the content itself. And you shouldn't be disregarding parents' choice. I mean, we know that 81% of parents are knowingly allowing their 12 and under kids to be watching all kinds of stuff on YouTube. And so when you start regulating content, you throw the baby out with the bathwater, and it leads to all these unintended consequences that I've been trying to explain to the FTC. And these unintended consequences aren't just bad for the creator. I'm trying to help them see that these bad things happening to creators and the decisions that we're going to be making because of it ultimately hurt the young audiences that they are trying to protect.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because that's another thing too that's going to be affected. It's just the access to quality content. Is that correct, Jeremy?
Yeah. You know, there's a big talk right now in general about the digital divide. And it's the idea that those who have more money get better access to the things that are behind paywalls. You know, so if you can afford it and you're in a family that has Netflix or Disney Plus or Amazon Prime, you can have that more quality content. What's cool about YouTube is that it's free for everyone, but it is ad supported. But if the FTC comes in and government starts shutting down that free ad supported content, you're expanding that digital divide, and the kids who get hurt the worst are those children from low income families. Because I know for me as a creator, we wanted to do a kids channel. We were getting ready to start one. And then once this regulation came out, we said, well, it looks like that's not going to be feasible on YouTube. We're not going to be able to pay for the production quality and the staff and all that's going to go into it. So we literally went and got an agent, and we're starting to pitch those ideas to Amazon Prime and Netflix and other organizations. But what's sad, I mean, as a creator, I would rather do it on YouTube. I don't want Netflix telling me that I can't talk about my faith or talk about the values that I want to talk about. And I don't want people to have to pay to watch my stuff. That's what I love about YouTube. And so if you're over exaggerating how terrible personalized ads are, and you're taking away parents' choice, you're going to end up losing a lot of amazing quality content for free for all those low income families.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I totally like sympathize with the smaller creators right now, because in the very beginning, I think AdSense is so important for creators that have a little bit of income coming in, because it's really the easiest way to create income without a lot of work. You know, these ads are playing on videos. Obviously, one of the problems here is they're targeted, but because of it, it's creating, you know, great revenue for those creators. And if you take that away from people, they don't have like a baseline. Now, I'm a huge advocate for people kind of like maximizing their income opportunities. So kind of diversify their portfolio so they're not just relying on AdSense. But I can tell you, when I first started, AdSense was huge. In fact, AdSense was one of the first inspirations for me to take this seriously. You know, when my wife first started, we didn't know anything about YouTube. This is like 2008. And when we saw her AdSense revenue going up higher and higher, and this is before brand deals was even a serious part of our business model, it really gave us something to chase, something that we could count on. Now, obviously, this is bringing up the other point of it. You can't really rely on it. But, you know, right now, this is such a significant thing that it's more than just like the ups and downs and the fluctuation that AdSense can have based on so many different variables. This is like taking the rug completely out from underneath us. So yeah, thank you, Jeremy, for bringing up all those points. I think that the one thing I want to dive into here are what are some of the consequences of this? Because I've heard some pretty crazy numbers, Jeremy, and I would love for you to clarify, you know, what it is that people should actually be aware of or scared of when it comes to the FTC and some of these guidelines that we have to follow, and what happens if we don't follow them.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, there are a lot of unknowns on the YouTube side. Like, we don't know for sure exactly what's going to happen. Some people have clicked that button that says, I'm going to turn off personalized ads. And that's how we could say that, you know, you could lose 60 to 90% of your income from ad revenue. But the other big piece of it is the potential fines that you could receive from the FTC. And the FTC indicated on September 4th, when they talked about their settlement with YouTube, and when they notified all creators, hey, we're now considering you strictly liable under Coppa, the potential penalty for each violation is up to $42,530. And you think for a creator like me, I have 1,300 videos. So if I were to come in and say,
Crazy.
look, based on my analysis of child directed, which is this like undefined 10-factor test, I'm going to say none of my videos are directed to children because I didn't make them for kids. I've always made them for a general audience. And then the FTC comes in and says, well, wait a minute, you have kids that you're featuring. We're going to bring a lawsuit against you for all those videos. I mean, that's a potential risk of over $60 million. Now, I don't believe that the FTC, and in the law, it says that, the intent isn't to bring as many fines as possible, but we would probably come to some settlement amount that was significant because they would be using creators to try to send a message to everyone else. Look, you're going to have to pay some big fines and have a big settlement if you're going to want to be clear from this FTC regulation. It's
crazy. Those kind of numbers, that would just like sink people's businesses. Yeah. And I guess, this is the thing. I really believe that it's not like the FTC wants to hurt people. They want to protect kids. And it's definitely something to take seriously, but it's not the end of the world. We're going to be talking about some of the solutions, some of the things to help you prepare for this and avoid these fines. But it is definitely something you want to be looking out for, because if this hits you, even one of those fines, I'll tell you, if I got hit with one of those fines, I don't know. I wouldn't really be a big fan of YouTube at that point. And when it comes to the government and FTC, let's talk about that too. One of the things that people don't even know is YouTube. I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, Jeremy, but YouTube got slapped with $170 million fine. Now they've got deeper pocketbooks than most people, but that's something they obviously don't want to be doing regularly. Anything you want to add to that, and why YouTube is motivated to help the FTC regulate here?
Yeah, one of the main things that I just want to clarify is a lot of people think that the YouTube was found guilty and they had to pay penalty fines, and that's not what happened. YouTube ended up choosing to enter a settlement where they would pay the $170 million. And that is a really important distinction, because it's not like a judge came in and said, yes, you did violate Coppa. And I think that's a big deal, because no one's giving YouTube enough credit, in my opinion. YouTube did set up
Agreed.
YouTube Kids. And that is what Coppa requires. It says, look, you need to set up a sandbox where the kids can play if they want to use this. And YouTube did have it set up where any user said, I'm going to enter a contract that says I'm 13 and older. Now, we all understand that parents have chosen to let their kids watch, and people don't follow those agreements. But is it the right place to say, YouTube, we're going to penalize you for other people breaking their contract with you? So it's a way more complicated issue. And I can understand why YouTube chose to enter that settlement, because for them, it may have felt like a slap on the wrist compared to the amount of the billions of dollars that Google brings in. But it is scary that as an implication of this, now we as creators are facing these huge fines. And some of the commissioners explicitly were kind of complaining about what happened with the settlement, of saying, look, you kind of take it easy on big companies when we have a history of really bringing the slam down on small businesses. Because, for us, it'll be a lawsuit against Jeremy Johnston for me personally, and I end up facing those fines. That's very different than, just a settlement entered with YouTube.
Sure. Yeah, a settlement with a huge organization like Google, or like their parent company, Alphabet, which they have money prepared for this kind of stuff. And, you and I, fortunately, we've had a lot of success here on YouTube. And even with that being said, we're still, scared about these fines. But these fines don't determine like how much they're going to charge based on, like how successful you are or whatever. It's just like, if you break the rule, you break the rule. And I totally love that you brought up YouTube and not getting enough credit, because I've always felt that YouTube wants to protect this community. If they don't have the YouTubers, they don't have YouTube. So it's in their best interest to do as much as possible. But at the end of the day, they're running such a huge platform here that they can't do everything. And this is why it's important for us creators, for you just starting out or the seasoned YouTuber, to pay attention and know how to adjust to this. Because at the end of the day, the person that cares about your business is you. You, the person that's coming up with these ideas, scripting, shooting videos, editing for many, many hours, and then uploading that to YouTube and then distributing it on social media, engaging with people. You're doing all the work. And some of you, especially if you're just getting started, there's not a lot of payout here. And so if YouTube is going to be taking away this monetization strategy for yourself, it's going to be even harder. I think this is another great reason why you should definitely diversify, that you should sell your own merchandise, have your own products, see if you can work with brand deals. So let's kind of adjust right now and let's talk about what are some of the opportunities or the silver linings of this. I know that kind of sounds weird considering this is Adpocalypse. And also, what are your tips to creators right now on how to strategize moving forward?
Well, one of the biggest things that you're facing is we're all going to have to decide whether each video is child directed or not. I mean, that's what the FTC settlement requires. And so YouTube is going to be rolling out some system, some tool where we all get to designate and click that box. Yes, it's made for children or not. And what's really hard is that the hard part is going to be knowing how to determine whether your content is made for kids. I mean, you understand this, Benji, as a family vlogger. And for me as a family vlogger, there's a lot of videos where that's a tough question. When you consider the pictures, because it's like, you know, is my Christmas video child directed because kids like it? Or is it just me making a documentary story of my daily life? I mean, we get emails from thousands of parents all the time, and we have adults who meet us in the streets who say, we're glad you watch. Now, we know that a lot of children are watching on YouTube Kids because YouTube has been pigeonholing us into that place, or they've been pushing that, but I have no control over that. I don't have control over who YouTube is suggesting our videos to. Yeah. And so that's the biggest, first really significant decision everyone is going to have to make. And what's hard is because the definition of child directed is so vague, you could meet with 10 different attorneys and probably hear different explanations of what is child directed or not. And that, to me, is a really frustrating part about the regulation. And something else I'm giving feedback about is this is unconstitutionally vague. Like, we don't even know if we're breaking the rules or not. And yet we face this potential penalty of $40,000. I've used the analogy that it's like driving on the street and having a speed limit sign that just says, don't go too fast. And you don't know if you're going too fast or not. But if you are going too fast, you're going to get these huge tickets. And that's not how the government should be regulating creators. Yeah.
And first off, I just want to give a quick shout out to your channel, J House Law, where you actually have these videos kind of diving in a little bit deeper. Is that correct, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys should definitely go to that channel. Just type in J House Vlog or J House Law. J House Vlogs is their vlog channel, and search on YouTube, because not only is there great information there, but there's definitely some links to help like support this cause and what Jeremy's trying to do, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you know, I definitely want to piggyback on what you mentioned about like what is the actual rule, right? What is the threshold between wrong and right? Just to give you an example, you know, I'm a family vlogger. My family vlogs on YouTube. However, we've always had the goal of connecting with other parents. You know, when Judy first started in beauty, she was teaching makeup to girls in high school and college. As they got older, they started dating. You know, they started having like the adult problems and issues or whatever. So she starts her vlogs to relate to other people in that part of their life. As people are getting married, she's getting married. As she's starting to have kids, they're having kids, right? So everything that we put out there, even if our kids are in the content, is meant for an audience that can relate to us in real time with what we're experiencing as a married couple, as parents. So when we're asked, hey, who's your content for? We definitely always say for parents, right? For grownups, which even sounds weird because we never looked at it as like, oh, you're a grownup, so my vlogs are for you. It was like assumed based on what our intention was. However, sometimes we'll put up a video. I'm thinking about one of our more viral videos, or it's just a video of our kids with another YouTube family, the Saucony Jolies and their kid. It's my oldest daughter with their oldest daughter, and they're just cute babies. And that's it. It's like 45 seconds, 60 seconds long. But could that be looked at as kids' content? That is what's so difficult right now. And this is why I'm doing this with Jeremy, you guys, because no channel is necessarily safe from this. You have to really understand who it is, not only that you're reaching out to, who's actually giving you a response through engagement, through comments, liking your stuff, but ultimately who is actually watching outside of that. Because if there's enough kids watching and the YouTube algorithm or the AI is picking that up, they will peg that video potentially as for kids viewership purpose. And does that mean you're going to get a fine? Is this all correct what I'm saying, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's completely correct. And it was funny when I was sitting down with the FTC, they had never seen our analytics. And so I pulled out my phone on the Creator Studio and I was look at my audience. Like it says, look, I have 3.5% of 13 to 17 year old. And the majority of our viewers, like 64% are 25 to 44-year-old women, that's what shows up for me. And so, but are you going to completely disregard what I'm being seen to just say, look, but we can see how many viewers you're getting on YouTube Kids, which again, we have no control over. It's really a complex thing. And so one of the specific things we've requested in our petition to the FTC is for what's called an enforcement statement. And it's just asking for more clarity. And we need you to let us know what's going on, because right now it's really unfair for us to have this chilling effect and the fear of a big fine when we're all considering those types of videos.
Yeah. It is crazy. And, when I first made the announcement, when I first responded to this news a couple months ago, I know you guys here in the Video Influencers community, by the way, shout out to all the members of the Video Influencers channel. We have a memberships. So hit that join button if you guys want to get exclusive content. We do live streams every month to connect with you guys. But when I did this for this community, it was a big deal. People were paying attention because, hey, I don't want my monetization to be affected. But now it's even bigger because, one, we're getting closer to the actual day and days when this will actually come into effect. I don't know if you saw this, Jeremy, but an email was even sent out this morning. I think it was this mass email. I don't know if it was connected to this, but it was from YouTube. I think that this is all part of YouTube just playing it so much more safe. And this is why I have Jeremy on, because I don't want you to just assume like, oh, everything's all good. Because as you saw in Kendra's video clip, like if you're a gamer, you could have these kids viewing yourself. If you have analytics like Jeremy just showed, by the way, Jeremy, I actually looked up those this morning to just be like, I wonder how many kids actually watch our stuff, right? Even though I believe more kids are watching because, this is happening. They're grabbing their parents' phone or devices and actually watching this content on their profiles. So YouTube isn't just going to get like a free card on that from the FTC. They're like, no, you guys need to regulate this. You guys need to know. And so this is the last thing I want to say about this. Like, take it very seriously. I think from the very beginning of starting a YouTube channel, Sean and I, we say have clarity not only about what you're going to be providing to the community, what you're going to be recording, but who it is you're going to connect with. I think that's the first start. Secondly, if you do know you're connecting with kids or you're not connecting with kids, make sure you're marking that off correctly in the back end, because you're going to get to actually verify if this is for kids or not. And then from there, your strategy will change. If you're a kid channel for kids, or you have a channel that maybe puts out some content for kids, now you have to start thinking about different monetization strategies or whatnot. If you're not, then really further yourself apart. I think that's the last thing I want to hear from you, Jeremy, because you guys have spoken about this. I've seen some of your interviews where literally you talk about the downside of all this is kids' content not only will go away, but content on YouTube might get more extreme in a negative way.
Yeah, I think one of the big misunderstandings is people are confusing this issue with some of the bad content that is out there for kids. As a parent of 5 kids, I hate a lot of the stuff that's on YouTube for kids. And I hope that there are continued measures to clean up those things, because children have young minds, and it is frustrating that they can get the dopamine hits of clicking on videos that are repetitive and really aren't a productive thing for our society. But here's the thing. Coppa is a privacy law. It's not about regulating content. And so I want people to understand that the things we're talking about, our petition and this campaign and what we're going to the FTC about, it's to try to protect this space for the good guys, for the good creators. because those bad actors who have been taking advantage of things like what happened with Elsa Gate and what happened with the Adpocalypse, all they have to do is maturify their content. They throw in swear words, they make it a little bit more mature themes, and you still are going to be you're still going to see a lot of that really terrible stuff. They're just going to have to prove that they're not made for children by making it more extreme. And the problem is that kids are still going to be watching. But someone like me, who really sincerely wanted to make a kids channel because I wanted to speak to them and share those values and follow the example of like Fred Rogers to address those issues, I now am stopping and turning away because as a business decision, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you're already seeing it right now on YouTube, everyone. People getting more extreme. Like they're purposefully cursing in their videos. In fact, Phil DeFranco, by the way, which I think was so epic that you were on his news channel for this, which is amazing because you're a huge advocate for this community. But you've even seen on his channel, he already uses some curse words, but he's dropping even more, like as a joke to say like, hey, this is not for kids, F this and F that. Well, you know what? That's not necessarily good for the community, right? Not even necessarily good for you, but people are doing this out of fear. Now, I'm not saying this about Phil, right? He knows exactly what he's doing, who he reaches out to. He's not afraid of this, but people now are going to be more, I want to say conservative, but more extreme in a way, because they want to further themselves from a kid channel or kid viewers. And like for our channel, for example, we know we're targeting parents because that's who we want to connect with and relate to through our content. But we know a lot of their kids are watching and that kids are going to be watching. So it's a tricky thing. So let's kind of move forward in a positive way. So you guys have heard some of the repercussions, the reality of all this actually happening. Oh, sorry, you guys. And I want to talk about moving forward outside of making sure you verify your video for kids or not for kids, what to do from here. One of the benefits, so I talked about the opportunities as silver linings. Now, I come from a background of doing a lot of brand deals. Well, a little bit opposite from Jeremy, so I would love to hear your thoughts on this too. But brand deals is a majority of our income model for our business on YouTube, just because we have fun with it. In fact, in the beginning, I always say it'd be great if I got to work with Coca-Cola. To this day, I haven't worked with Coca-Cola, but we've been able to work with amazing brands from Disney to recently I'm doing something with Smuckers because we do PB&J sandwiches for the kids. So it's been awesome. I believe those opportunities are going to get even bigger and better. Now, we'll see how this actually turns out. But the reason I say this is we haven't talked about this, Jeremy. We definitely should dive into it. The demand for these ads is still going to be there. These brands, these businesses, they want to advertise to these viewers. That's what Coppa is trying to protect in terms of the privacy, and they're not letting these personalized ads get to them. But these brands, they need to get there. So I believe brand deals will actually grow. Now, I know you've got some things to talk about here, but start thinking about other ways to monetize. Like, how do you connect with these brands who can't advertise directly to the exact people they want to? And how do you position yourself to actually dive into some of those, brand deals now that will be expanded because they can't spend as much on the targeted ads and only generalized ads?
Yeah, when it comes to brand deals specifically, you are feeling and seeing an increase, especially among people who are on that border of where they either are making content for kids or they have children who like their stuff. If we are going to be seeing a big hit in January of ad revenue dropping, there's a higher incentive to do more brand deals. Mm-hmm. That impacts the supply and demand algorithm, right? And so my nervousness is that the advertisers who are looking for creators are going to have more and more creators hungry to do brand deals, which could drop the prices for brand deals because Absolutely. It's like, oh, you would have done that brand deal for 20, but we're finding 5 other big creators who will do it for 10 or 5. And we start bidding ourselves lower and lower and lower because we're all getting a little bit desperate because of the ad revenue being lost. The other thing I want to say is I've heard people when they talk about this saying, look, all that money that was going into advertising for kids, we're going to kind of get a windfall from that over on YouTube. And I think that that's a misunderstanding of how ads work. I mean, if Hasbro and Mattel were excited to be sending their stuff to kids and kids channels, I wouldn't think that if you're showing more mature stuff that you're going to now get some kind of windfall from that loss. And so I definitely don't want creators to think who aren't making kids content that they're going to win a bunch of ad revenue now because of this. It's more of a whole loss. The pie is shrinking for YouTube rather than this somehow being you're going to get a bigger slice of the pie because kids channels are getting hit hard.
Yeah, I agree. Supply and demand. So if there's more supply of creators out there trying to get these brand deals, and of course, potentially the revenue will go down because you can't charge as much because people are getting more competitive. This is why it's so important. This is advice for anybody watching this. Why you want to be very specific, and your brand has to be very strong around a specific type of content. You know exactly who you're reaching, not just an age demographic, but what are those people actually doing? What are they into? Because the further apart you are from the general pack, the better your rates are going to be. So for us, we knew early on that we are becoming a family vlogging channel, but we further knew that we weren't connecting specifically with kids. We knew we're connecting with parents. And because I'm Asian American, my wife is Filipina, we knew Asian American parents were like the majority of our audience, and specifically people that are moms, because Judy is a star of our show. So they're moms, probably thinking about having kids, or are pregnant, or already have kids. So again, our niche was so strong, and this is how we've been able to raise our rates. When you're kind of just a general influencer, nothing wrong with that, right? You might get more views because of it, but at the end of the day, when it comes to brand deals and just your potential revenue sources, it's going to be less and less, or maybe not as valuable. This is not the case with everybody. This is why I love having Jeremy on, and I believe this is one of the reasons. And he's not just advocating on his behalf, but like for the whole community, because if you're a channel that's relying on the ad revenue, you're going to dramatically be hit. But the one thing is, and this is the one thing I would love to hear your thoughts on, Jeremy, is your fans, your viewers, they still want your content. That is the one thing that isn't going to change. They are still going to want to watch your videos. It just means that you might not be able to monetize through AdSense. So that is not even the silver lining. That's just the reality. However, one question is, and this is always a big question, Jeremy, right? Because there's not as much of an incentive for YouTube, because they can't create revenue from those views, will they put other revenue creating pieces of content in front of those viewers? And that is a huge question too, because this has never happened. Any thoughts on all that? Because that was a lot to unpack right there.
I think what the silver lining is in the character and style of who YouTubers are. Typically, you're scrappy, small business owner, entrepreneurs that are creative and willing to work super hard. And if you're succeeding here, you're crazy competitive. And yes, I've met a lot of you, and you all kind of fit into that category that I just said. And so if the rug is getting pulled out from under you, I have a lot of faith in my friends and the people that I know in this community to go and to innovate, to go do some cool stuff, and we're starting to see us branching out into all kinds of neat ways. Maybe you're starting a podcast, you're writing a book, you're going to go do an original series, or you're making products, you started your own website, and who knows, right? Maybe this is going to be what leads to some of the coolest new innovations of the ways that creators interact with their fans and do it outside of the bounds of the YouTube mechanism that we're all kind of stuck in right now, because YouTube has a monopoly over this space of monetizing video online. And so who knows what's going to come from it. I'm hopeful that great things can come from that, but I would much rather go to the FTC and help them reconsider this so that it doesn't shut it down for the future. So, that's where all my energy and focus is right now. But and one of the hard things for me is my wife comes to me, she's like, why are you doing all this fighting against the FTC? We need to start planning what we're going to do next. And she's right. But I want to give it as best effort as we can before we just drop the fight and just say, look, we're defeated. And the truth was once I went and met with the FTC, I saw that there really was a chance here. There are a lot of the commissioners that are more conservative, not necessarily wanting to have more regulation, and are open to hearing our feedback and could be impacted by the things we're saying and doing.
Yeah, one thing I totally believe that maybe I didn't believe before, a little confession, was that we could actually change this. When this first dropped, it was not something that I was very surprised by, because I've seen some crazy stuff happening. This isn't the first Adpocalypse, by the way. This is like version 3 or 4. I don't know. I can't even keep track anymore. So I just thought, you know what? This is just the new reality. And because the government's getting involved, we've got to adjust our strategy. Seeing what Jeremy is doing for this community, seeing people like Phil DeFranco feature Jeremy and all these creators and viewers, this community rallying behind this is, I think, one of the most beneficial things that's happening on this, but also what's been swaying my mind. So one thing we're going to do, Jeremy, we're going to add the link to save family-friendly content on YouTube on your
petition.
the petition. So make sure you guys go click on that if you want to support or just want to learn more about it. And before we end, we definitely want to take some questions. I'm going to look for them, but tell us a little bit about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about that because it's been a really neat blessing to be speaking out about this and seeing how people are rallying around. I actually built a relationship on Twitter with a family vlogger from the Middle East. He and his family started 10 years ago making videos and doing vlogs. And, you know, from what I saw, none of their vlogs were in English, so I didn't know what was going on. But he spoke out about this. He saw what we were doing with our petition and the meetings we're having with the FTC. And he made a video that he sent out. And within the Middle East, his video has over 400,000 views. And a lot of the people who signed our petition are in the Middle East saying, hey, we want to step up and do something. But I was so sad by one of his questions to me that he wrote personally. He just said, you know, Jeremy, I'm confused why more big creators aren't speaking up. And that's something that I hope we can change. That's why I was so happy to see Phil talk about it, is I know that there's some fear to speaking up about these things. There could be some backlash, or we don't want to make it seem like we're trying to exploit children, or we're wanting to just consider our profits. And some of you may feel like you want to hurt the kids area because of how much drama it's caused. But I hope that all of you big creators will reconsider and see that participating in this and helping is standing up for the little guy. It's standing up for the kids that are going to be hit by this. And it's not just about us saving our businesses. It's about saving the platform and the magic of what personal ads has provided, which is using technology to democratize entertainment in a way that anyone can step up and say, look, I don't have to go and work at ABC or Disney or Nickelodeon. I could just make my own stuff and I can have success with it. And people can watch for free and I can make money off of it because of the magic of personalized ads. And I just invite creators that are bigger to really consider talking about this and helping, because we need your help.
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you, Jeremy, for what you're doing, because I definitely have a new outlook on the situation. And of course, Video Influencers is a platform Sean and I built to be able to help the community. And I really want to have you on here. And so I believe it. I agree with you 100%. YouTube is one of the most amazing platforms for anybody, from kids to seniors to grown-ups to business people to students. Everyone can utilize it. It's a search engine to find everything, answers to every question that you might have. And AdSense is just one of those major tools that's helped so many. In fact, I'd say in back in the day, almost everybody that just started out on this platform get to where they're at. I mean, in fact, don't get me wrong, even though our business model is built on brand deals, selling our own products and doing other, business development opportunities, AdSense is still a big deal, right? It's still something that we take seriously because it helps our business, like improve our content, hire new people, keep the team going. So one question I want to put out there first, if you don't mind, if you got a few more minutes, Jeremy, you good?
Of course. Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk more.
Okay, sounds good. First question is from Ada Key Gains, and she says that, am I understanding correctly that there will be no more ad revenue once you meet the requirements to monetize your videos, like those creators that have met those requirements? That's not absolutely true. What's true is your ad revenue will go down. So we talked about this at the very beginning, how some creators' revenue will go from 60 to 90%. What's happening is personalized ads will not be an option for you if you're targeting kids or kids watch your content, those specifically those videos. You'll get generalized ads or ads that are a little bit more broad, and they're not utilizing the data from those viewers. Anything else you want to add to that? And did I answer that correctly, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's annoying that there is so much detail associated with this because
Yeah.
it is confusing. And that's why I made several videos about this on JHouse Law. So a personalized ad is based on a user's online activity. So what apps you're looking at, your search engine stuff in Google, or your viewing history. And so Google can say, look, you've been watching Thomas the Train and Sid the Science Kid. And so we're going to send ads or suggest videos based on that because we know what you're interested in. A contextualized ad is where it's just saying, oh, you're watching Thomas the Train, so we're going to send ads based on videos that people are watching, not based on their activities online. And so what the FTC is trying to protect against here is the privacy of children, saying, hey, you shouldn't be tracking what kids are doing to send them advertising. That's not cool. And where our argument is coming in is saying, well, parents are letting that happen. And it goes back to my analogy about the PG-13 movie. You know, we personally have chosen not to let our kids go and watch the PG-13 Marvel movies yet. But I think that parents should have the freedom and the choice to do that. If parents want to use YouTube Kids, they're free to do that. There's no personalized ads there. But what the government is doing is coming in saying, nope, we're not even going to give parents the choice. We're just shutting it off for that content, contextualized ads only. And that's where we're standing up and saying, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. And I think you're over exaggerating the harm that may be caused here, because parents clearly aren't that concerned about personalized ads. And some parents even find it as a benefit. You know, I would rather my kid be sent things they're interested in that are appropriate for the child rather than something that may be based on just the video that they're watching. I mean, you think of the ads that go on a Super Bowl, right? Like it's like, oh, kids, we're watching the Super Bowl because I know you like football, but this ad, close your eyes, you know, don't look, because that's a contextualized ad. It's just general and it's based on the content, where it's like, man, I wish that on the Super Bowl it was personalized to my kids so they were only seeing ads that were appropriate for children. I'm trying to explain the differences there, and that's just an example.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that when it's all said and done, you just have to look into it for yourselves, right? I mean, by the way, you know, Jeremy, he's not practicing law, and we put all the disclosures. We're also not giving legal advice. You need to go do the research. I do believe Jeremy's videos are some of the best videos on YouTube. I believe Derral Eves got some stuff. So do your own research. But the next question I wanted to take is from Lowe's Joinery and Spray Painting Specialists. Quick shout out to everybody in the chat area. If you are getting value out of this, please hit that like button, leave a comment down below, because we really want to know if you guys are enjoying this and you're getting value out of it. So hit that like button, and please share this with anybody you think could be affected. We're talking about this to help you, the creator, but we would love for you to further spread this word and spread this video by sharing it on social media. Hit that share button. But the next question from Lowe's is, hey, I'd love to know if this will affect a woodworking channel. I obviously don't direct my channel to kids due to the power tools I use, etc. A good thing. I'm a bit worried, to be honest. Any help? Thanks, guys. Jeremy, you want to take that first, because I do have a couple of thoughts on that.
Yeah, and obviously this isn't specific legal advice for you, but interestingly enough, I just had a phone call with a really prominent crafting channel where they do crafting just in general. And a lot of women do crafting channels, and they reached out to me because they said, look, we're feeling discriminated against because a lot of kids like crafting. It's very colorful and bright, and we're dealing with things that children like. And so we're feeling like we're going to be punished here because of that. And I consider the types of things I let my kids watch, you know, not just like woodworking or interesting things where people are building things. There's even that channel where the guy just goes out into the woods. There's no talking or anything, but he's just building stuff with mud and with sticks. My kids love that channel. Yeah. I don't think he's making it for kids. So here's the thing. You can go through the 10-factor test and look at that. And you could say, look, subject matter, I don't think working with wood is child-directed. I'm just an adult working with wood. I'm not featuring minors. That's one of the things. Do you have any celebrities on there that children would be attracted to? And again, what's hard with all these factors is that no one knows how to define it. Like, Benji, are you a celebrity that children are attracted to because you're a family vlogging dad? Are my kids? You know, I don't know, but probably as a woodworking guy, you're not a celebrity that is attracted to children. But the final factor that they consider is your intent. And what's hard for me with the machine learning that YouTube uses is there's no way for them to measure that factor. And I think that might be the most important factor, because the language is child directed? Who are you directing it to? And that's, again, the nervousness that if they start to consider whether it's just attractive to children, you're ignoring whether that's your intent. And so the other thing that's really hard, though, is that creators who do general stuff like woodworking, what if you're specifically making something from Aladdin, the new movie? You know, like I consider Pentatonics, I really love their music, but some of their songs are from Disney shows where they dress up like Disney characters. So are those videos going to be ones that are child directed because they did that? I hope not, because I'm an adult and I like Disney stuff, even though it is animated and it's musical and it's all those things that fall under child directed. But again, this is just highlighting how frustrating this entire situation is and how hard it is to decide. But if, you know, just in my opinion, not legal advice, I would think working with wood, I would feel comfortable if that was my channel to say, look, this is not child directed. I'm making this for a general audience.
Yeah. And so I agree with that. The one thing that we're trying to bring up, though, really isn't about channel to channel. It's just the fact that there are kids that watch all kinds of content. Think about this. If I'm into woodworking as an adult and I want my kids to be part of it, I might let them watch that. Maybe on their own device, on their own profile or mine, but who cares? Like the point is a kid might be watching it. Now your channel and your video isn't for that purpose. Like Jeremy said, that wasn't the intent, but it's the question. And this is why like it's such a gray line and it's just good to have this question. And I just got one more question that I want to answer. And it's Michael Groff, by the way, one of our first members for the Video Influencers exclusive members only club. So thank you for being a part of that. Just hit that join button if you guys want to support us here on Video Influencers and want to get those exclusives. But he says, and this is just great general question for everybody and for you, Jeremy, since you are, you know, even though you're this person bringing the legal advice, again, not legal advice from a legal standpoint, just from your experience and your observations, but also your experience as a YouTuber. Michael asks, what's some advice you would give to brand new YouTubers? In both of your opinions, do you think YouTube is still a viable business? And by the way, just want to thank David for the super chat. So Michael, I'll take this question first and then I'll hand it off to Jeremy before we get finished up. I absolutely know and definitely believe that YouTube is a platform and is a viable place for any business. I do believe that Instagram, Facebook, all these other social media platforms, including TikTok, are very powerful and have different purposes. But when it comes to evergreen content, videos that not only get views right now, like this broadcast, but videos that will continue to get views, no one does it better than YouTube. And because it's a search engine with this audience that knows about this content library, and it just has evolved, but still stayed at the forefront of this need that people have to view videos, it is the best place. In fact, plug in my book, YouTube Secrets. This is why Sean and I wrote this, because we believe this so much that him and I, who have never been authors, who have never written a book or even know that much about it, we felt compelled to write this book about YouTube, not just video platforms, even though Video Influencer is about online video, because we know this is the place you need to be. And this is why we broadcast here on our YouTube channel on this platform, because we believe that there's so much power behind this huge audience, 2 billion plus logged in users a month, that I believe is just going to continue to grow and grow. And I don't want to get into a huge tangent about how much I love it, because obviously you guys hear from me. Jeremy, what are your thoughts when it comes to Michael's question about is this still a viable place or for a business venture? And what's your opinion for brand new YouTubers?
I really love the question, and I can only go off my own experience. So 5 years ago, when I first found YouTube vlogging, I went to my wife and was like, this is something we should do. And I remember feeling really behind the curve because there was this huge wave of family vloggers, people like the Shaytards and It's Judy's Life. And, these other people, the Daily Bumps, they were succeeding and they were really growing and they were ahead of us. But here was the exciting thing. I was able to gain huge benefit from those people that laid that foundation for me. They had already built the audience and proved the concept. They had shown that millions and millions of people like to watch documentary style of family. And if I was able to put in the work and learn from what they were doing, and that's what I did. I went and I said, why are they succeeding? What are the elements here? I looked at the analytics. I got super nerdy about it. And as I was making videos, I was watching the audience retention and seeing what worked and what didn't work. And I was able to benefit because there was already so much success. So to you, I would say, who's starting right now and is considering getting into it, I think it's probably harder now than it was 5 years ago because it is so competitive and quality has continued to go up. But the opportunity, I think, may be even bigger now because more and more people are watching YouTube, and that's more of an opportunity to get into that game. So find that niche that you're really excited about and those videos that are really passionate to you. And I'm not saying go in and copy that, but say, how can I take what's working for these people and put my spin on it in a way that really is meaningful and passionate to me, and start making headway and slowly growing, that process to where you can eventually be a real force in the space.
Absolutely. One thing I can speak to, which is crazy, I didn't think we're going to actually eventually get to it, but I met Jeremy when he had less than 5,000 subscribers. Maybe he was at 5,000 subscribers, right?
We were small.
Yeah, but this is why I really value our friendship, because I met Jeremy at the very beginning. Of course, he was a hungry YouTube creator starting this family vlog channel, which is not easy. Well, we came from a place of influence and then started our family vlogging channels. He straight up started a family vlogging channel with no influence. And if you guys are just chiming in now, 2 billion views later, 2 billion views later, not quite there, but close, right? Probably going to get there. Yep. 2 million subscribers, more subscribers and more views than what my wife and I have. That's amazing. And that's like when people thought it was too late. So if you're just starting out, just know there are people like Jeremy starting right now that I believe a year from now, 5 years from now, or maybe even sooner, will just be crushing it on this platform. That's going to continue happening. Jeremy is an example of that. In fact, there's another, we'll link that too at the very end. There's another interview with Jeremy that we did a while back about his strategy on how to figure out the algorithm. I think a lot of those principles are still relevant to this day, but you always need to be aggressive and hungry to find out the new solutions, the new best practices. But Jeremy, sorry, I gotta sneak this one in. If you gotta go, let me know. We're gonna
I'm happy to talk.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to put the link down to the video that you guys definitely should check out. And we'll eventually put the link down in the description box as well of where you can actually support. And I'll let Jeremy talk about that a little bit. But the last question is from the super chat, David Centeno. I think it's very relevant to what we're talking about. If you're a child-driven channel, so you're a channel that has kid viewers, do you also have to consider the sponsors you mention? Now, this might open up a whole nother can of worms, but I'm going to let you take it first because I have my own thoughts, but I want to kind of hear from you what your response would be to that question.
This is a huge second battle that we're going to be facing. And there's a lot of implications here if you are making content for children, because one of the things you'll see is that YouTube isn't allowing you to share your brand deals on YouTube Kids. So say that you're getting half or 70% of your views on YouTube Kids, and you're normally getting 1 million views. And Hasbro comes to you and says, hey, we're going to pay you $50,000 to promote our new game. And then you make that video and you go and you put it onto YouTube, you're only going to get, 300,000 views. Yeah. You're not going to get that 1 million views. And that's going to be a big problem. There's also now a complaint that's been filed with the FTC for them to investigate and see what's happening with Ryan's toy review. And the FTC did just send out some update, 101 of disclosures. And so this is the next big battle we're facing. And what's interesting, just as a side note, as YouTubers, we're not sophisticated and we're not organized as a group. And so I've been having talks with SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, because for the last 70 years, they've been organized and unionized and doing things to try to protect themselves and to lobby in DC. And I've been working with them on how they could set up a system that could allow people like us to also receive those benefits. Because what I'm doing right now with the FTC is just battle number one of 100 other battles that we're going to face. We're in the Wild West and the government's coming after us. They want to start regulating stuff. And so brand deals are next up to bat. And I just, I don't really know what the answer is there, but definitely we need to do a better job of doing whatever we have to do to try to disclose clearly that this is for the adults and that we're getting paid to do this. I strongly disagree with a lot of those rules, but we have to follow them until any changes are made. And the reason I say disagree is I feel like they're unfair, because on TV, The Office is able to do product placement without ever disclosing it. Or Michael Jordan was able to tell me to get Gatorade when I was a kid without ever saying how much money he was getting paid to do it, or that he was getting paid to do it. And it's frustrating that in the internet world, it's like we have to so clearly come out and say that we're getting paid. And I understand it's a complex issue, and I'm not trying to belittle that, but it's a huge battle that's on the horizon.
Yeah, and the short answer is yes, you do need to consider it, but let me elaborate on that. This is what's ironic about myself and Jeremy right now and talking about this. I am huge on brand deals. In fact, I feel like I have a lot of experience because we've done so many over the course of this decade. And I have to pay attention to this. I wish we could actually go for a whole nother hour on this, but I believe that's another video. It's another broadcast, because this is something, again, it's not just going to affect the obvious channels. It could affect everybody and how we disclose and the things that are required to be able to do that. So, take all this very seriously. Don't be scared, but be prepared. And this is why we're talking about this and we're diving into it. One more really, really, really quick question. I don't even think you need to elaborate too much, but let me know what you think. The Man's Kitchen says, can I get an FTC fine if I live in Canada? Is it an international matter? Now, actually, Jeremy, what do you think on that?
I know the answer, and you can go to the FTC frequently asked questions, and they answer that question and say yes, because YouTube is a United States-based company, and because children are watching from the United States, you can face the same situation regardless of whether or not you're in the United States or not.
I'm glad that you actually answered it that way, because it was a lot more elegant than the way I would have said it. What I really want to deliver to you is, it doesn't matter where in the world you're at. Now, whether they're going to get that money from you or not is another question. But YouTube has been very direct, saying we take this seriously no matter where you're from. So who knows what kind of things that they might do to your channel. This is kind of scary, but think about it. If the FTC needs to get their money and they can't get it from you, I don't want to say they're going to go to YouTube, but what might actually happen, they're like, hey, we got creators over here that's breaking these rules. They got viewers in the United States and we're trying to protect kids, just period. What are you going to do about it? That is a real scenario that could happen. And that is, I think, the way we should end this. There's still a lot of unknowns. There's still a lot of questions. We need to be careful about how we navigate the future. And this is why signing that petition is so important. So hit that like button if you've learned something about what's going on with the FTC and the Coppa guidelines and just the crackdown that YouTube is having on channels. And why don't you, Jeremy, finish this off with how people can support. We'll put the link down below, and then we'll go ahead and say farewell to everybody.
Well, first off, to everyone still listening, I really appreciate it. I know that this is complex stuff, and we really can use your help. Beyond just signing the petition, I was able to go to the FTC and we were able to get an extension on what's called the comment period. And this is the public's opportunity to reach out and tell the FTC our concerns. And they don't have our perspective. I mean, in my comment, I'm going to be talking about my analytics and some of these things I brought up to you, because they want to make their decisions based on good science and good research. But the truth is there is no science or research out there that is going to show the FTC how YouTubers are going to react to this and the implication that's going to have for kids. So for me saying, look, because of what you're doing, I'm going to Netflix and Amazon Prime, or because of what you're doing, we shut down our kids channel, or because of what you're doing, we're maturifying our content. This is our way to get our voice out, to help them see how harmful this could be to kids, because there isn't really a better way for them to understand that except us getting our voice out. So in all of my videos, there's a link for you to send a comment to the FTC, and we got that extension until December 9th. Please go do that, and then invite your viewers to do the same, because as YouTubers, the one weapon we have to try to fight against this regulation is our influence. Let's use that to try to send a very clear message that more regulation is not the answer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Definitely go click that link, or just look at the video, J House Law. If for whatever reason you can't go to the link. And I'm so grateful for you, Jeremy, being on here. You have had an epic experience here on YouTube, and I know you're going to still be relevant and growing and successful for years to come. But thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have definitely got my vote now for making this change. So I will not only be going to that petition, but I will also be spreading the word on my vlog to my audience. And as always, we're helping build your influence, income, and impact with online videos. If you guys want to see all of our interviews with epic creators, click or tap the screen right here. If you want to see the interview that I did with Jeremy, go ahead and click or tap the screen right here. I'll see you guys later. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll talk to you next Saturday.